Hey Guardians, welcome back to Fireteam Chat, where we are reacting to the latest Destiny 2 gameplay reveals. I'm Fran Mirabella, and I'm joined by CJ Gibson.
What's up?
Sean Finnegan.
Hello.
And James Duggan.
For the Horde.
There's your first World of Warcraft reference.
Every episode.
Yeah, so a very quick rundown. On today's show, we're discussing the second Curse of Osiris reveal stream, where Bungie showed off new ways to play. They detailed a new public event, their biggest thing yet, as well as a new quest system, how to get the forged weaponry at the lighthouse, and they gave us a peek at the adventures which take you up and up into the Vex's dark future. As a quick note, your steadfast host, Destin Ligari, is out this week enjoying some time off, which is also why we're uploading Fireteam Chat early this week. We've got a short week here in the States as we observe Thanksgiving and Iron Banner. As we head into the weekend. So lastly, I do want to make a note. Please take a moment to head to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/fireteamchat, and check out our giveaway. Just check the comments for a link. We're on the final hours of this sweepstakes that we got going, where you can win a Destiny 2 Collector's Edition box on PC, Xbox, or PS4. And don't forget, that includes the expansions as well. Curse of Osiris is coming up. And even if you don't enter the giveaway, I would appreciate, we all would here at Fireteam Chat, if you just take a moment, pause things, and head over to YouTube and drop us a quick subscribe or follow. Thank you. All right, so back to the show, gents, now that we have the rundown.
That's right.
Expertly done, Fran.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Is there some end game included in that giveaway?
It's all the Fran game.
Fran game.
Is what it's about.
That's
So
right.
we're going to start with new content. So I'm just going to throw it out there. What were you guys expecting? And the new content I saw seems to be 2 main campaign missions and some strikes and stuff. But let's start on that.
You mean the same thing?
Yeah, yes, with some slight variation. Duggan, I mean, what's
It's going to
your
be a
first
salty
reaction?
episode. Let's get
Really?
this
You're setting us up.
Oh, absolutely. I think I actually think it makes a lot of sense to just get into this here, which are the things that I wanted to see from the stream. Specific acquisition for weapons and armor is something I wanted to be a part of this expansion. A revamped progression system systematically, I think, is something that we all want. Strike incentives, whether it be heroic or the new strikes or whatever. I want incentives to go do that content because it's good content. And then finally, I think we needed some inventory management updates. My vault is full. My shader tab is full.
Yeah.
I am tired in my soul of Destiny 2 at this
Now,
point. And
let
I need
me-
a little bit of a
Man,
revamp.
Let me
I should have
ask you
brought my
this.
shield
Yeah.
in
Like,
the armor.
so that's the question, Duggan.
Welcome.
Of these things that you wanted to see, which were addressed?
Well, so there are, technically, there are specific acquisitions for weapon and armor. The, what is it called? The Lost
Prophecy.
Lost Prophecies.
yeah.
We still have a lot to see there. And the revamp progression they promised, but we totally didn't see. In fact, I think that now is a good time to use these props because, whenever we saw...
Props?
I bought,
There's a
prop,
demonstration,
yes.
everyone. This is what you should be watching.
This is the most rewarding public event in the history of Destiny. And you will be getting 2 tokens and a rare engine.
I didn't know that
Just
he'd
throw
done this.
them on the table. Just
No, they'll fall off the table
Yeah.
if you do that. Don't do that.
Oh man.
Okay, wait. So
Accurate.
I do want to gauge everyone's. You know what? Let's do general reactions. I can feel that we don't want to go through the rundown quite yet. Sean, what was your
gosh.
quick reaction on what you were expecting versus what you got out of this?
So I want to preface this by saying after the stream, I spent maybe half an hour trying to draft up a tweet that summarized my thoughts and could not do it.
Even
so
with 280.
Yeah, so I plan to get into it on the show, but my general overview is I was not very stoked on that stream. I don't feel like Bungie did a great job of convincing me that Curse of Osiris is going to breathe life back into Destiny. And it didn't address the particular things that I think are longstanding issues that hardcore players like myself still have with the current game. And that kind of sours my anticipation for all the new stuff that they did reveal, which some of it looks interesting. But even the stuff that looks interesting, for instance, new strikes.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. So they announced 2 new strikes. They come with a sort of big asterisk, a caveat, which is like, yeah, there's 2 new strikes, but they're also part of the campaign. Like,
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, but they're not reskinned, or they're not just like pulled straight out of the campaign and now they're strikes. But according to Destin's preview, which I don't know if you guys read, they seem pretty similar. And that is a little concerning for me.
Yeah.
CJ?
There's not much to say. Anything that's being addressed without talking about the end game just feels like we're waiting for something, and there's nothing.
I just want you to, it's not your fault.
No, I know, but it's painful. Like,
I blame you a little.
He's
defeated.
choking.
I'm
He's like
defeated.
choking up.
CJ.
He's like, oh no.
I'm waiting for like, okay, there's gonna be some like announcement for ranked or PvP or something.
Yeah, there was no
Just
PvP.
Give me the carrot.
Yeah.
Just give me some carrot. And there was two
Yeah.
tokens and a blue engram.
I have
They're yellow though.
that could not have been worse.
I know,
Like,
just the
that
feeling. I was like,
could not have been more poorly planned.
I know.
yeah, I have
That
a
section right there of the stream.
Yeah, a two-sided reaction. One is I don't know why they insist on like the hear no evil, see no evil thing. I understand a little bit because they got to manage how they say things, and there's a lot that goes with it. But they're sort of in this situation that we know they're rebalancing the game.
Yeah.
But like you guys are saying, like that's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Even just remind us. Like Barrett had said, here's what's on my list.
Yes.
We are working on it. You should start every stream. Hey,
With that.
we're doing it. I think they're afraid of the toxicity. Anyway, so it's too bad they're not able to talk about that more because I feel like we're in a little strung along. There is more coming. We know there's a big patch update that will be coming with season 2 whenever that hits, probably right before or around. You know, we're like weeks away.
And that's
from
what
that
we're all
is.
waiting for. It's like we want that.
That's what everybody wants.
Especially
That's
when,
the real game.
Yeah, especially when you've seen them talk about it. It's like, okay, now you've addressed it. When's the date? Like, give it to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. All the content here for the $20 or $15 or whatever you paid, it's only going to take you so far, whether that's 4 hours or 10 hours, and then you're back to the real game, which is everything else, how you replay raids, and how you join your friends. And like, that's what everybody wants to know.
I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. Is like any experienced Destiny player or MMORPG player of any sort knows that the real game in that type of game starts after you finish the campaign and after that stuff. So it's cool that we're going to get a new campaign. It's cool that we're getting a new story and like a new public event. But once we do all that stuff, which is what, 4, 6, 8, 10 hours at the maximum, we're back to doing what we already did, which right now we know is broken and boring and not interesting or engaging. So like even just a reminder during these streams that stuff is being addressed or that they want to know, that they're listening to us and want to address it. Like that could go so far.
And we do want to get into the rundown.
I know. Last thing, if you're actually asking about what I was hoping for, the mod system, like just something that it feels like it's just there waiting. I know, but you just go, okay. Well, when I saw forged weapons, I was like, okay, here it comes. And then it's like I kind of saw them do that, and then I was like, okay. And Sean and I were talking. We're like, I wonder if they, you know, when they forge that, is that a random weapon that's coming out? Is that going to change?
You were wondering
week?
if it was like reforging and that type of thing.
Well, let's
How
get into
would
it.
it
So,
work, right?
one of the things that you can do, right? And I guess if you
let's get into forging after. I mean,
Just a rundown.
I want to make sure everybody out there
until the end of it,
and I know
so we can get through all because not everybody at home watched
exactly. And that was the thing before we go too far down that path. And I know I'm like overly organized.
All
for
good.
All this,
No, this is good.
But I do want to go through it in a bit of an order. Okay, so the other thing I was going to say, though, is if they didn't do this, we wouldn't have much to talk about on the show every week. So if they just made us
I'd
wait.
have plenty to talk about.
So that's a good
I'd be
point.
talking about disconnecting from trials incessantly. The launch button not working. I'd be talking about...
God, I can't say anything.
It's a bad experience in terms of connectivity. But anyway.
Let's get into summing it up very
I know
clearly for
stuff to
people.
talk.
So here's what they said about strikes and campaigns, right? We know that there's going to be 2 new strikes, which you will experience as part of the campaign. And did you guys catch the way they twisted it is they said, well, look, it's focused on the story stuff. It'll have those elements. And then for the strikes, it is sort of, they didn't say redesigned, but it's changed somewhat. Yeah. So it's different. Modified. Yeah. What was your takeaway from that? Do you believe that it's going to be that different? I mean,
so I have to admit, I give Bungie, and this is why it's so hard for me to say this, because I give Bungie the benefit of the doubt most of the time.
Yeah.
And so when they said that it'll be remodified, I took that as, oh, great. So it'll be kind of like Sepix Prime was in Destiny 1, where the strike is kind of like the finale mission of like the world's progression in the story. That's kind of what I thought, right? And I hope that is the case, and I don't know that it isn't until I play it, but according to Destin's preview, he couldn't detect whether there was a modified version or not. To him, they were the same.
Yeah.
And that's cause for
under
concern.
embargo still for the record, but
is it?
It's live now.
No, it's live.
Oh, you're talking about his brand new
the one that just came out today after
the
the stream at noon.
And they did talk
ago.
about modifiers for those. Well, I guess in the heroic encounters at least.
Yeah.
To play devil's advocate here, I don't really care. Like, recycle the content. That's fine. I don't think that we are in a content deficit. I don't think that's the issue here. I think we are in an incentive deficit.
Yeah.
So, they can recycle their 2 story missions and have them double up as strikes. That's fine. More strikes, the merrier. But there are still strikes that I have rarely ever done. As an example, like the Nightfall this week was the one on the, what is it called? The, on Titan with the Hive.
Sevethans,
I can't remember.
Is it Sevethans Song or whatever?
I never know the names of any of the strikes.
It's the like garden biome.
Oh, yes.
that
that's
one.
Isn't that Pyramidian?
Where they're like harvesting Guardian's light and using it to power
exactly
like the
with the crystals,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So anyway, great strike. That's the second time I played it because
Really?
I just have not had the incentives to go into the strike playlist. Hopefully, the heroic strikes will fix that. But I think you can add more strikes to the pool, even if they're reused campaign content. I think that's a lesser evil, and I actually think that's a smart decision because you can potentially use those resources elsewhere to work on progression, work on kind of fixing your end game. I'm all for that. We just, again, need to see that bit.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't have as much of an issue because this has been a Destiny thing. We've always experienced some version of this that you play part of that world and then, it turns out it's a strike. I mean, sometimes they have totally unique strikes, but I don't mind it as long as they're fun because inevitably, because think about it, if a strike was even 100% unique, once you play it, it's not unique to you anymore.
Well,
you're going to need to be able to replay it. It was my only point.
Replayability and incentives are the biggest part of any part of activities, right? Like in Destiny 1, we were all incentivized to shoot into a cave. And guess what? Everyone did for 1,000 hours. We shot into a cave, right? So even if it's a remastered or given to us again, recycled strike, if it's properly incentivized, sure, it's going to be good. I've said on the show multiple times, for me, strikes provide value to the player in a different way, which is new opportunities to explore the story and the lore and the characters, and I don't think it does
it's
that in this way.
From that perspective.
But that might also just be my
these,
perspective.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
But the issue is at the end of them, you're just ultimately opening a box that's giving you tokens, and that's kind of
what I'm hearing. Incentive, reward. None of this was showed, and certainly I think
that's really what I was hoping for. And they really what's mind-boggling is Deej really, and I know we should continue. Deej expressly said a new endgame progression.
Perfect segue.
Bam, there you go.
So
let's get into it.
During the new public event, which was the first thing they opened with on the stream, this is on Mercury, they said, quote, "It is the most rewarding public event we've created." And they also said it's the biggest thing we've built for public events.
I mean, biggest...
It wasn't...
seemed pretty straight up.
Yeah.
It was big.
Yeah, it was
it's happening
big.
on one major central platform, 2 sort of side platforms, and you're taking these man cannons back and forth. So big, I get that.
But yes, then they say most rewarding. And I was watching chat. It seemed very poorly timed.
Oh man, it was
Please go watch this
There
clip.
were two chests, and he's like, "Okay, here we
even
go,
says
everybody.
2
Here
chests.
you go." And Duggan, if you will, with the props one,
1 token, 2
birds,
tokens,
and
double the
blue.
token.
and a blue, and it was like a Titan sash.
Yeah, it was bad.
And I was like,
well, double the tokens for double the duplicates is my new saying that I've coined right now.
It's like
that's just my experience.
There's this huge drum roll to when they're opening the chests, and then it's a gong.
Yeah. And so that's the issue is they go back and we think they're going to maybe, I joked, I'm like, oh, maybe it's an exotic per token. You're going to take it back. I'm joking. But they got back and then they just didn't turn the tokens in. They went to show you the new quest system with the verses.
And the UI was different.
Which we'll get into after.
There was the token turn-in, which seemed unchanged. You had the reputation. It wasn't stacking. There was that really cool Reddit-done revamp of the vendor UI and how it could be interesting. And you could be accumulating this rep kind of a la World of Warcraft.
Like Destiny, Destiny 1.
Or Destiny 1, sure, that. And then... that could unlock certain exclusive things like a sparrow or a ship or a weapon or whatever that you needed to get a certain amount of reputation. So at least there's a little bit of a grind there. But it was unchanged. It was just, it's a loot box progression. You're turning in tokens, you're getting a loot box engram, which is essentially just like a weapon that at some point, I have every legendary that I can get from
getting weapons is overall not hard to do.
Yeah.
But so we know we have a reward problem, incentive issue, but let's talk about what we saw with the public event itself real fast. Maybe hear it from CJ just for a few since...
I mean, I did like the actual event. I will say that I thought it was cool to have a different than just in a single space. It's like, oh, cool. You're taking off here, you're dunking a ball.
Sweet dunks.
Yeah, it's like, so there's kind of some cool mechanics, but I was a little bit disappointed at the end. Ultimately, you're just putting bullets into a sponge.
Well, walk us through a little bit what you saw with the mechanics of the public.
Yeah, so it was cool. It's like as you went through, and I'm not sure even how like you killed the balls and they dropped and then you had to dunk them, but there was
kill a major and they just drop.
So Vex spawn out of these sort of portals. Right. You're killing the Vex, and then a Gate Lord shows up. You kill the Gate Lord.
Yeah,
he drops
the ball.
He drops a bunch of balls, which that was weird to me.
Yeah,
there's like 5 of them.
Yeah,
but it showed we're watching the stream from one player's perspective. He grabs the ball and dunks it. I'm wondering what the other balls are for. Can everyone dunk it?
Multiple.
Does everyone have to dunk it?
Yeah. So that's the
unclear.
Question.
You dunk a ball.
Yes, it's a lot, right? And I wasn't sure if did you dunk the ball? Like, is that like a prerequisite to actually killing the boss? Like, I didn't understand.
I think it opens the next.
It opens the next gate.
Well, so what happens is
that's
you kill the dudes. He drops the ball. You take the ball. You dunk it. That takes off the Gate Lord's shield
to go into the portal.
You kill the Gate Lord. That opens the portal. Then you go to the next platform.
There you go.
Right.
You do this 3 times. 1 per side platform, and then 1 in the center, and that's where the boss spawns. And you're kind of doing the same thing.
I thought it looked fun though. It's a public event.
It's fun.
Remember?
Yes,
and like look,
looks
we
cool.
already have these mechanics like the big the spider bosses. What do you call them?
The Fallen Walkers.
The Fallen Walkers. Yeah, like we know that they drop the balls, then you put them in the orbs in the side, and you get your cannons. Like it's the same philosophy.
Yeah.
And we also had dunks previously, as we know, in Destiny 1.
Yeah.
So it's not like brand new mechanics. I think that's the only thing that stuck out to me. I was happy to see sweet dunks.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm like, I've already done sweet dunks.
I've dunked.
In Taken King.
I've dunked in the Taken King Sisters
and Rift.
mission.
You know, so people making jokes about Rift. So I don't mind that. I think it looks fun.
Yeah.
But
we didn't see the heroic event either. So we didn't
see the heroic
that
maybe
is.
No, I don't even want to posit that. The idea that the heroic event would give some kind of like worthwhile based on what we've seen.
Well, what we saw was the heroic though.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
they didn't trigger the heroic.
No. It does. They activate it. They don't show you how they activate it. But in the stream, he's like, "We're not going to show you, but they do it here."
Okay, I wasn't 100%.
So those rewards are for the heroic. That's the even more disappointing part.
I got to use your way to get an answer because we keep going to incentive and rewards. On a scale,
I think we want
1 to 5.
Oh gosh.
Versus all the other public events in Destiny 2.
Why 5?
Yeah, because if I put it on the IGN scale, people are going to get smart. Alex, about
7.9.
7.9.
I know where people are still going to rate it now. Nice job, everybody. So seriously, 1 out of 5 based on the public events we already have. How do you think this one looks, CJ?
Yeah, it's about a 3 point. It's like a 3.5.
Okay, we're half.
It's like a
thought we were
3.5.
going to get whole numbers. That's okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say 4. Like it looks cool. I like the Vex. It seems big. I wish one thing I was thinking is I'm always thinking this, but how could this be cooler, right? I thought it'd be really cool.
Let's get Doug. I'll come back. Doug,
Oh no, keep going.
just what's your rating?
I just don't care.
Give me a number.
Wow.
0.
Not available.
0. Yeah,
You're not going to rate
not
the quality of the public event for us?
Well, we
I think the
played
quality
it.
of the public event. I don't think the quality of their content is the issue.
I know.
I know.
Trying to go through what we saw.
In terms of dunking and grabbing balls and dunking them and shooting a guy, it's
Doug
cool.
wants endgame.
Okay, but that's ultimately you play the game to get your reward and incentive, so it doesn't matter.
It absolutely matters, but the incentive has to be there to enable me enjoying the content.
100% agree,
Right.
which you cannot get past. I understand. Sean, what were you about to say?
I just thought it'd be cool if if there was some skill element to the man cannons.
Because
it seems
when you
to be
shot out of them.
If you could miss, if you
target
suck.
something.
Ooh, what if they were
if they're
some,
swinging
rings that you have to time and
that would be cool. Just give me a skill element, make
What if
it
Amanda
more
Holiday
fun.
came in and she give you a sparrow and
'Cause,
hey Guardian,
ship
you're gonna have
away.
to drive this up in there.
It's the only public event that I know of that actively uses the man cannons. It's big, right? Wouldn't it be cool if there was yet another twist? They're swinging back and forth really quick, and you have to time when you go through it so that you don't miss the platform.
That's cool.
That would be cool. Or if you said you had to you shoot through. Maybe it's
some rings are converging in
and you have to time it so that you go through them to activate the Gate Lord or something like that. I don't know. Just get creative, man. I don't get it. It's so frustrating.
To be
fair,
I'm
we're
not
pretty
agreeing
solid
with you.
here,
I'm not agreeing with you that I don't think it's creative because I don't know the mechanics yet. But I do think I don't know. I think another thing that I would like to see. I will not reference World of Warcraft this time. I'll reference Warhammer
Because you
Online.
already did
the first 10 seconds of the show.
Yeah. So Warhammer Online had a really cool system that was basically public events where you'd get together, a boss would pop up or whatever, and you'd have to do all these mechanics, and you get a reward just like public events in Destiny. The difference being, depending upon your scale of involvement and how good you were at the event, how much damage you did, how many mechanics you got correct, how much damage you took, like dodging telegraphs, you were ranked on a system from first place to 10th place. and then you would get a random roll after that. So it would mix everybody up. But
that's
depending
cool.
upon how well you did, it would inform your quality of reward. So if you did number 1, you had a much higher chance of like getting a good roll to get a better reward.
So you're incentivized to not suck.
Competitive. Like, let's make it a little bit competitive instead of me
Those
just
drops
doing like
at the end of the match.
Where are my tokens?
Duggan,
how do I still have
No,
these?
Duggan,
They
here's
just
the
keep
thing.
coming.
But that's not how it works. It's if you shoot the boss, everybody gets a medal.
I know.
So what I'm hearing is, okay, I think to be objective, this does look like the biggest public event. I think it looks
absolutely.
fun.
Yes.
And
Sure,
when you look at, honestly, there's some like kind of boring public events. This one looks like a lot of fun.
It does.
So I want to give credit where credit's due. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's no
Doesn't
Taken
have to be
Blight.
yours.
That's for sure. It doesn't seem
no
like
what?
Taken Blight.
Yes, it's no take. Like actually, yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
Dude,
You're
at
saying
least
the same,
Taken
right?
Blight is cool because as a Titan, I
alright.
can like go in and slam inside those bubbles and kill like 1,000
You're not
things.
supposed to. That's the thing. Is when you do that, you don't trigger the heroic. And
Yeah, but
people
I
like
don't
me
care.
who are trying to jump out the bubble
Yeah.
and
But
shoot it.
bringing
I
it
don't
back
care, you
to
lose
the
berries.
point, I think it looks fun. We
It
have
is
to
a
play it yet.
cool-looking
I haven't
event,
played it
yes.
yet. Did Destin talk about playing it in his impressions by chance?
He was very apathetic.
Yeah,
about
he did
everything.
play it.
Curse of Osiris.
I think again because mechanics.
I
are
mean,
similar, but-
apathetic isn't the right word, but like he was like, it's like he's like, it's like a lot.
you
of
don't
other
sit next to
things.
him. To be fair,
I used to sit next to him for like
like,
2
what's
years.
it like? He's like,
But
don't
I do
care
think
anymore.
it looks fun. We got to get out there and play it still to see. Let's move on from public events. And next up, they showed us forging. They actually forged the Jack Queen King
Yes.
3. I don't know why the 3.
hand cannon.
It is 3 cards there, but
So can we talk about the system though?
Yeah, let me quickly sum up
Yeah.
though what happened. They picked up a quest line, which was verse 3, which is one of 11. Oh, that's why it's Jack Queen King 3 because it's verse 3. That's probably why.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
maybe number 11 verse that all those numbers are attached. Sorry. You got to collect these concentrated Radiolorian cultures
Jeez.
and advanced paradox amplifiers. I just wanted to say that.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew you did.
I did.
You were
It's like, what
confusing
the
people
heck?
so much. Broad overview. Can we like one level up? real
No,
quick?
no,
what it is,
No,
though.
but
You
you
collect
so-
stuff.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me just finish. And then, you turn that in at the lighthouse and you brought it to that dial. And from the dial is where you forge that weapon. You actually see it being forged in light, and then you get it.
So
and
here's
that's
the
the
first
hold
question.
on, can we
Do you
back
think-
up?
Do we
Yes, we
think
can.
that the Lost Prophecy box number 3 is always going to yield Jack Queen King
That's
3?
what we
That's what we were talking
don't
about.
know.
So here's the question. I mean, not the question. The overview, if you didn't catch it, the stream. This is a new thing called Lost Prophecies. You talk to Brother Vance to get it.
Yep.
He has 3. What are these called?
Lost
verses.
Prophecies.
No,
Oh, verses.
3 verses available, which we think will refresh every week, right?
Yep.
You can select one of them, meaning if you have multiple guardians, you can probably pick up all 3. And when you pick this thing up, it gives you the quest to go grab these
Yes.
resources. Once you assemble all the resources, you're available. You can go to this forging mechanism thing that is in the lighthouse, and it
Sundial
makes a
or
weapon
whatever.
for you. Yeah,
So-
and this weapon that they revealed is Jack Queen King 3.
Yep.
Good.
And
I
they
skip
did
the
say
picking up the Lost
yeah,
Prophecy.
and they did say during the stream that there are 11 verses.
Yes.
that Brother Vance.
So you
has.
would imagine they either have their own loot tables per verse, or they yield a single result, but there's no random rewards. So it would almost be like a faction rally, just trying to get all of those.
Right.
And there could be some really good weapons there. I guess my question is like, let's take a step back and decrypt what this is, because I think this is a step in the right direction where we could potentially get a little bit of specificity in terms of what our loot is, but we don't know that. So essentially what's happening is we're picking up like kind of a bounty in the form of this box. We are then going to do content, and they made it sound like you can do Crucible, you can do strikes.
Yep.
I bet you can do public events. So it's kind of a token system.
Yep.
And then you're taking those tokens and infusing them into this box to get a particular reward. So at the very least, like looking over the fact that this is essentially an elaborate token system, at least you are picking a reward. So that is definitely a step forward if that is the case.
It's just a classic quest, though. Like
Yeah, it
you
is.
get a quest, and then you go and you get these materials. That's
by
what it is.
doing
It's not tokens,
things in the
they're
game like
materials.
strikes
Yes,
and
like I read
public events and whatever.
Yeah, that's why I wrote this down. Like I noticed, I think it was the Advanced Paradox Amplifier. It said it was a rare drop from public events.
Oh, okay. So it is content specific. So that's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that could incentivize strikes. If there is.
Yes, and
it
it
sounded
is like that.
It's to
It sounded
get you
like
to go do those
Crucible, strikes, all that other stuff. It did feel a little bit like the artifacts, where there's 3 available at TireCon every week, and you got to go pick them up. I mean, but that's kind of the issue. It's that if there's going to be 11, You pick them up. Okay, 3 divided by 12, so we got 4 weeks of content.
That's better than no weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Well,
but
it's also
like,
assuming that one verse means one weapon.
so that's the only thing that I guess I'm a little bit maybe
Like, what if there's
hopeful.
3 different
They use
weapons
the
per
word
verse?
Forge the weapon, which kind of feels odd to me because in Destiny 1 you could potentially re-roll the weapons. Maybe there's some hidden gem there.
that's
Maybe
hidden.
it's a little surprise and delight
wonder.
there. I know. So
Maybe.
That's okay.
I
with me.
doubt
There
it.
are small, like yield loot boxes essentially, where there are 11 different categories, and you stand to at least get one of 3 weapons.
Yeah.
That I think A gives you a better grind, and B gives you more control over the grind without flat out giving you, hey, here's your weapon. It doesn't have random rolls on it. There's no more content for you.
I don't know if it's going to be that because remember, when you go up to that sundial and you forge, the little glyph shows up. It seems to indicate
you
you're
got
done with
that one already.
Like, unless there's some other mechanic. No, I don't know, but it looks like you get the one and you're done. And you move on to the next one. I don't know. But that is forging weapons. We got to see it. We knew it was coming. They had talked about forging weapons.
I mean, it's cool. Like, I will say, like, I like that mechanic. I feel like this is another conversation about the random versus static weapon roll thing. And I feel like if that was a randomized hand cannon with a various set of perks and maybe somehow, again, the mod system comes into play, that would be cool because there'd be this incentive to do this every week and maybe there'd be something new.
If these parts of the quests are fun. I think that's what they were, I think, trying to get at when they were talking about you can go play in the Crucible and you can go do strikes. As it turns out, as far as I can tell, you still have to go do the public strikes. So meaning, the public events.
It's like
meaning
a bounty
if you
system
only like doing Crucible, I don't think you can pick up one of these Forge quests.
That's okay.
and only
Like,
do that.
honestly, like incentivizing content sometimes takes you to a thing that it's not your favorite, but maybe you end up liking it.
Yep.
I think that's better.
No, I agree with
Anyway,
that.
let's
Yeah,
keep going
people
around.
did thorn kills in Destiny Year 1 for that reason.
Yes,
Like, they got them into play in the Crucible.
My only point was I hope that it's pretty simple, and it is just go do some strikes, go do whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, that is why the content itself, the strike itself, the public event itself, I think matters so much.
Yeah.
But what I don't want to do is get into collecting like too many material drops and stuff like that, which in Taken King and Vanilla was just brutal sometimes.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
because they
like
had
I didn't
it-
get all the swords in Destiny 1. I just couldn't. I'm sorry. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
As awesome as the sword.
I got one sword
exotics.
and was like,
The Dark
I will never do that again.
It's
It
rough.
was
But at
so
At
terrible.
least you guys had a mission statement from, going out with an idea of what you had to do, as opposed to like, I haven't gotten the raid rocket launcher. I've done that raid 6 times at this point, so I'll just keep doing that raid.
Welcome to Destiny raids.
That's right.
I don't.
But
really,
there-
I mean,
that's what it is,
care. Well, anyway.
Yeah, there
keep going.
is
Same
something
with
there
peace.
though, because like as much as I chose not to go out and get one of these swords, I knew that the Dark Drinker, for example, was like powerful
the
and
sword.
worth it. And so again, it gave you something to do and a good reward. So
Yep.
let's move on to the last few
wait.
things. Yep, sure.
I just want to touch on the Forge system in general. I hope that number one, that it's not just public events, strikes, and Crucible. I hope that there are like levels of difficulty in terms of the tier. I hope it becomes Nightfall strikes. I hope it becomes Prestige raid.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Like basically, as you get, we saw number 3. If you get higher and higher or whatever, the challenges and the quest that you have to complete becomes more and more difficult.
Make some of them
Right.
really.
And I think this is a big step forward for them. My favorite content in the game right now, or my favorite gear in the game right now, is the Trials of Osiris Flawless Armor, which I'm just missing the arms, by the way. I'm very close. And then also Legend of Acreus. And I like those two things in particular because there's only one way to get them. You cannot get Flawless Trials from Hawk Lady.
Yep.
You cannot you cannot get Acreus without doing the raid a bunch and powering it up. So in addition to incentivizing content that I like playing, it is also telling a story for the loot. Like somebody sees me with Legend of Acreus and Flawless Trials,
which
like,
was the promise.
Destiny 1.
That was the promise of Destiny 1.
But I was going to
Yeah.
say, Acreus is probably the one in particular. That is classic Destiny stuff.
is.
It's
Well, more than
actually
that, man.
really powerful.
And it's really good. Yeah.
And it is hard to get.
Yep.
But it's worth
and it
getting.
takes time to level up. I love it.
It's the raid power
They
quest.
need to isolate that progression line and
2
double
more
down.
of that.
Yep.
It's mind-boggling. This is so much of Destiny 1 that's
Yeah.
just missing from Destiny 2.
Yep.
Well, they're
Wait for
trying to
Destiny
shake
3.
things up. So we're going to just talk a little bit about
$60, Destiny 3.
We're going to talk a little bit about the weapons that we did see as well
Yes.
out there. First of all, what did you think of the forged Jack Queen King? What did you think of the look of it? And
Yeah, all
Kinda,
really cool.
I kind of didn't like the look.
Really?
Yeah, the
I'm-
kind of like
same
cobbled
boat.
together look. I didn't like
Sean
it.
doesn't like the
Interesting.
look.
Yeah, I mean,
CJ?
just like
I liked it.
aesthetically, you
No,
know.
I thought it was cool to see all the little tubes off the side of the guns.
Yeah, see, I didn't like
stuff in.
that.
Yeah,
I don't
thought
like
that
the
for
South because I think
Mercury-
you got 10 more of those coming your way.
I know.
Doug,
I know.
Yeah, I'm with Sean. I don't like. I like. how kind of thrown together Wardcliff Coil is, because if you read the lore, it was like some guy who just, mad scientist had to throw this together to kill a bunch of Fallen. That's cool. Yeah. This feels like, it just feels like I'm like duct taping a weapon together.
It really looked like something out of Fallout, like something that you might have
did kind of look
built together on your bench when you have no idea what you're doing.
Like Iron Banner year 2 or 3 weapons there. They're just kind of like...
Yeah, like...
to be clear, that's not a negative. Like, they went in a direction. It's a cool direction. Some people are going to like it. Some people are not. Whatever.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I like that they thought about the design of the weapon and thought about how it might tell the story of Osiris and stuff. Yeah. I just don't like the aesthetics.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's like the same idea as like, if you remember, is it Kaber from the Vex Vault of Glass lore? But he was in there designing, I thought he did like No Time to Explain and, or like the timepiece. Sorry, what's the...
Praetor's
timepiece.
timepiece.
Sorry, I thought he was involved in designing that gear. Anyway, I think the idea is something like that Osiris had to do with a lot of this.
Did you like them?
I'm kind of reserved. I would like to see more. Like, I think it looks fine.
Yeah.
But there was nothing where I was like, oh my God, those look so cool.
Like,
I'm not really there yet.
It's purely a subjective thing too. Like for me, the weapons that really struck a chord for me were the Wrath of the Machine ones. All of the what's that called?
The Siva?
Yeah, the Siva infested
Siva
weapons looked all really cool to me.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people that didn't like that too, and it's just a matter of taste.
Okay. Well, we saw some other weapons in there. CJ, you were talking a little bit about shotgun, pulse, and a sidearm.
Yeah, the shotgun looks pretty
like a
cool.
shotgun. Yeah, it's looks like a full auto shotgun
with 7 shots.
Yeah, doing some work. And then the pulse seemed okay, but it seemed a little bit too slow firing for me. Like I like Lincoln Green.
I think it was high impact.
Also,
and so I like this fast. Like I mean, Mida obviously, but Lincoln Green is kind of like it's got more bullets and RPMs versus that.
It did look more like as relentless. The
Midnight
pulse,
Nameless Midnight.
Well, that's Scout.
What that
Scout.
Oh right, yeah. Sorry,
you're thinking of Nightshade maybe.
No, it's faster.
Nightshade's
it's a little slower than Nightshade.
Anyway, it's one of those slower rate, higher impact.
It didn't look that good. Yeah,
I thought it looks okay, but I know most people don't like that in the game so far.
There's some people on PC who love pulse rifles, and they will refuse to use other things in trials, which is cool. It's
nice.
That's great.
Yeah. And then there was a sidearm, which looked like it was wrecking up close, actually, but all sidearms seem to do that for the most part.
But it's not Last Hope, so whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, so that's what we saw so far in there. I don't know if we missed anything else because we just like watched the stream and ran in here. That we're also on
Infinite Forest.
Yeah, I do want to make one of those notes. We're on one of those episodes where like there could be like tweets between like Lars and like the things have transpired since we've been in here. It's because of the short holiday. We had to get this out of the way.
chests were bugged. They were not supposed to drop tokens. They actually, we have a
please don't say that. Do we have a whole episode on that? Anyway,
so Infinite Forest. Did you touch on?
Yeah, we're actually going to talk about adventures. That is next up. So actually, you go through the Infinite Forest as part of the adventuring. So I mean, Doug, it seems like you want to talk about Infinite Forest.
That's a great system. We see it in roguelikes, and basically it's this kind of pseudo-randomized but not entirely procedurally generated thing. So when you go into Diablo 2 or Diablo 3, and you go into a like Greater Rift, you see some biomes that were hand created, and then you see some stuff like catacombs that are just pieced together based on a computer algorithm. And to Deej's point, I agree that sometimes those purely randomized things don't always confer great gameplay. You get some weird little hiccups with mob spawns or what have you, and some of it can feel kind of samey. So I like what they're doing here. They basically have a bunch of Lego pieces that they are throwing together in this semi-randomized thing where I'm playing on a platform. This platform was designed by a human level designer. Then another platform is appearing, and the Infinite Forest thematically is a really cool way to tie this together. I think it's cohesive. I think it's great. My problem, here we go, is
it properly incentivized?
Well, wait, no.
Sure, but also, you're choosing the end, right? You're choosing what you're getting to.
Yes.
Which is, in this instance, was this dark future where the Vex had taken control. So you're already determining that from the get-go.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of takes the punch out of it.
It's your bridge to get there.
It's your bridge to get there, and there was nothing particularly difficult about that Infinite Forest. It was a couple of
shoot bosses,
couple of Vex guys, couple of Hive guys. You shoot them in the head, you move past it. There's a ton of resources thrown into creating those this Infinite Forest, and you were moving through it to get to a pre-constructed ending that you've already chosen that you are expecting. So the idea of like the procedural, randomized, replayable thing doesn't really work if the end goal is not procedurally generated and not echoing the design sentiments.
Yeah, it's
How was it chosen? I have a question. How was it chosen?
So this
I must have missed
it was
that
called
part.
the Up and Ups, like whatever, like
So yeah,
adventure.
this was, we actually went to, we watched, and
Yeah.
they went to do an adventure called Up and Up. But on the way, you go through Mercury into the Infinite Forest.
And basically they said, oh, you're going to be able to play a bunch of different enemies. It could be Vex, could be Hive, could be whatever, which is cool because they've never been in the same space at the same time. So that was neat. But then it's like, okay, you shoot them and then you go through the portal and then you're at the
I agree with
end
Duggan.
game.
It's
I'm
kind of got the
still
same
near the lost
outcome.
sector.
But I'm still kind of confused. So the adventure we saw was called the Up and Up. But does that mean that the Up and Up always results in the Dark Future Vex
I
thing?
think so.
Yeah,
If that's
maybe,
not the
yeah.
case,
Yeah.
then I'm misunderstanding
does.
it.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I would love if the Up and Up was always a jumping puzzle, but it could have one of a bunch of different random
I don't
outcomes.
think those parts are procedurally generated. It was just like those pieces
Well,
of middle,
none of
course,
it's
right?
procedurally generated.
No,
but yeah.
You're
It's
right.
procedurally chosen, designed concept.
Right.
And they actually said that wasn't completely random. There's some factors at play. They didn't say exactly
Well,
what
again,
it was.
why am I playing this, man? Like,
You
why?
seem to be like you were into it, and now you're like,
No,
not
I'm
even-
super into this. This is not the problem. The raid is great. Strikes are great. This new Infinite Forest idea is really cool.
Yeah.
I'm down to check all of it out. But again, why am I going
reward
back?
thing?
Why does it need to be randomized? If I'm going to go through
treasure
there and get a
box.
token, if it's going to be lost sectors, right?
Yeah, I know.
Why? What's the point of having a
But this is
randomized
like
lost sector?
one small piece of it. So wait a second. Let's talk about Up and Up, which was the adventure that we saw where they venture into the Vex's dark future.
Yep.
Again, this idea where the Vex have like simulated every sort of outcome, which
is cool.
Where they win. Yeah, it's a
Super
cool
cool.
concept. And actually, like this world where there's no light, no dark, so to speak. It looked kind of dark, by the way. They called it a dark future. But anyway, you go up there. It's a pretty cool environment. It's very like stormy looking. But what we saw as you go through this adventure, you go through part of the Infinite Forest, and that is the part that I understood has some randomness.
Yep.
But for the most part, the adventure is the adventure. In fact, they said you can play a bunch of these and never be confused which adventure you're playing. So it's not that the adventures are random. So we went through, and then you saw us kind of going up. We had this jumping puzzle, a little like classic Vault of Glass feel, and then you arrive at the top, and you fight a bunch of enemies in this stormy, dark future. There's some enemies on platforms. I thought it looked fun. For an adventure, it looked, pretty, like the scope was good, I thought. But what did you guys think?
Yeah,
of it?
I think it's the same thing. It's like, if you think about right now, I'm just going to try to, again, relate to Destiny 1. You had a score that was called Grimoire, which they pulled out of the game. But that was the thing that you did because, this is the first time I've done this adventure. It's the first time I've done this. And to Duggan's point, I think that's the issue. You do all these things, you want some kind of tracking or reward or progression thing that just says, hey, I did this. Even if it's just Grimoire score. Like, it was just a score.
Which contributed to your record book in the end, actually,
That's the
though.
thing,
Your
right?
Ornaments and stuff.
And
towards the end.
you know the information is being tracked. So why is it like held behind Destiny Item Manager? Like, why don't we see the fact that we've done this strike so many times?
I don't think they
we've
were
done
ready
this.
in the end. Because Iron Banner wasn't ready.
Yeah.
I know, man.
Yeah, and
It
there's
just
a
seems
much
so odd.
larger overarching thing that is causing all of these issues that I would love to cap off the episode with, but we'll save that for now.
We're
Yeah, I mean-
basically almost out of time behind. So
The adventure.
what do you guys think of the adventures? And then
The adventure seemed cool. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's some running, there's some jumping. The environments look awesome. I love the idea that, like, on any time you do it, you might be fighting the Vex, you might be fighting the Hive, you might be fighting the Cabal, or some like mishmash of all of them. That's cool.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't really get why parts of it are randomized other than the story elements, which that's the coolest part to me, is like this idea that
It's like a replay
you're existing in
value.
a simulated reality
Yeah.
that the Vex are using to explore their own ends. Like, that's super cool.
Yeah.
I wish we saw more of the changing. Like, every portal you go through, it's a totally different reality and like visually distinct instead
Yeah,
of
yeah,
just
great.
the end. That would have been
Gameplay
cool.
was. Yeah.
Again, I'm always
sky on the other
I'm always kind of thinking, I'm always kind of thinking like, how could this be better? But I liked what I saw. But in the end, the reward was really interesting because it was a token, and it was like that seemed awfully long for.
a lot of tokens.
especially if I can just go to that winding cove and cheese that door. I'll just do that.
Yeah.
Also, in Destin's preview, he said a lot of it
Fix
was he said a lot of it was skippable.
Yeah.
Like, you can just run by and kill one enemy, open up a portal.
did you think?
I loved the look of the adventure. That's where I'm like wondering if
aesthetically.
I will have ever been. What I really wanted to know is, because they talked about, again, you won't be confused which adventure you're playing. But as we experienced with some adventures in Destiny 2, they were like pieces of things you've already done. However, there was a couple like really cool adventures, like the Sturm quest, which took you back through one of my favorite areas, and I think it even expanded on it. So again, I'm wondering how much of it's it's like you haven't seen if you go do the adventure.
Yeah.
I think that's really important where it almost feels like a new mission or whatever.
So,
we'll see.
and potentially if the forging ability of these weapons has some kind of little piece that required you to do those adventures,
then yeah, I'm on board.
That would be great.
Absolutely.
And why, like, hopefully it does. Like,
Yeah,
we don't know,
that'd
but
be
it
interesting if they like hid materials within adventures and you had to like go
Inside
get
there.
it. You know, go
Or
get
like
your
what if
ghost
you
fragments.
or like what if you do the adventure and you pick up some item and you have no idea what it is, and then like 2 weeks later you get the quest,
Yeah.
or you
Find
get the
this
verse,
in
and
the
it's like
infinite
you have
forest.
that, and like, oh man, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
Little surprise, that'd be cool.
There we go.
Incentive.
So they have one more stream next week, I believe.
They do.
Do we know what the title is of this one?
I
That
didn't bring
stream?
it with me, Hannah, but I think it
yeah,
focuses a
it's-
little more on
Oh, they're going to talk about two things. And that can be summarized in 30 seconds, but they'll stretch it out to half an hour.
Again.
He's
Wow. This was, he was very disappointed.
I'm used to Blizzard streams where they're like, hey, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this. Watch a World of Warcraft expansion
Dude,
trailer.
yeah.
They just go boom, boom, boom.
And every single one of them, you're like hear the roar of the crowd. Like,
So here's what I want to talk about as the final thing. And I think a lot of
we
what we're
gotta close
seeing,
out.
you know, from a development standpoint, I think it's a little bit unrealistic to assume that everything that we want is going to be fixed in this first expansion, given that they started developing it at launch or even a little bit before launch, and they're working on Curse of Osiris. I think that talking about the Grimoire, talking about a lot of the like progression systems that we saw in Destiny 1, not making it over to Destiny 2, all of these things that we want, I think are a symptom of a sequel-based development strategy, something that is iterating and resetting. And when you have one team that is disparate from the other team that is making improvements to your overall game design, and the other one is just focused on this new content, these new levels, these new enemies, this new story, I think it gets lost. And I think that's what we are starting to see. And I think we can even see that with things like Battlefront 1 and 2, where there could potentially be lessons learned, and then there's a whole new loot system in the second one. It's completely different. Everything is reset. Servers fall apart the first day. I'm having server problems with Destiny 2. I imagine if this were an expansion or whatever, that probably would not be the case.
Right.
So I think what Destiny 2 has taught me as a games as a service guy, as somebody who plays League of Legends, World of Warcraft, World of Tanks, what have you, these games that are sticking around, Rainbow Six Siege, and not having sequels, and if they are, it is years and years and years and years after. It is taught me to potentially avoid investing emotionally and time-wise into things like Destiny 2 and Destiny 3. Because if the cadence is they release and it resets a lot of the progress they already made in the first game, and they just don't have the resources because they're so interested in cranking out this content that is essentially pretty shallow because you're going through it once.
sure.
As an MMO thing, I'm just not really interested in supporting that or playing that.
People have said it before. Like, you got to be able to walk away from a game like Destiny and know that it's okay. And that's what I've done. Like, I just haven't really.
Because it so wasn't what Destiny 1 was. And
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Destiny 1 eventually became.
Yeah. But that,
Yeah,
I think that's what we're all feeling, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good note to wrap things up on, which is, if you remember Vanilla Destiny, it only had so much to it. And then they had to roll out Dark Below. And then they had to roll out Prison of Elders and blah, blah. And it, unfortunately, to James' point, this stuff took time. And so I think we all walked in that we're going to get everything from Destiny 1, basically, and more.
Well,
and then they changed everything
should.
as well. And created tokens and gambling and all that stuff. And so I think we're all experiencing that, where we just feel like, I don't know what to make of this right now. I mean, I really don't.
Yeah,
I'm in
no,
the same
I know.
boat. So I'm very curious. The patch really is going to be important. I think it's the thing we're all talking about, is the elephant in the room. So I don't think next week, because their stream is on the Crucible as well as new inventories. That's what it's on next week.
Yeah, well, there we go. There was one of my notes addressed. Maybe. We'll see.
But they title it New Gear to Earn. So maybe we'll hear a little more.
That's great.
Maybe we'll hear more about what they've talked about. They talked about it at TwitchCon, where they don't just want to nerf or buff weapons into the right state. Not that they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But they said we want to introduce new stuff.
I love that.
That becomes what you go chase. Yeah. So maybe
That
that's
is the Hearthstone design philosophy, because Better Devils is only good in the context of without Hawkmoon in the game. If Hawkmoon is there, Better Devils is not your choice. So that's a really cool design philosophy.
And right now, I mean, let's face it, unfortunately, and this hurts me to say, the end game is really bright engrams, and that kind of is a bit of a sour.
Oof.
Sucks. You know, I mean,
it's crazy. It
that's
feels
like
that way to you.
such a touchy point for me
it
too,
is.
because you know what that does is it encourages microtransactions,
Right.
which I have been against that since the
kind of-
beginning.
I don't feel like that's the end game, though. I just
mean,
feel like
it's-
the end
it
game
is.
they
Like,
gave
what
you
is-
everything.
it's not, but
what
that's the
haven't you
issue.
earned that isn't part of bright engrams?
It's all the
Uriel's
stuff that
gift?
you want, right?
Oh my God,
but
really? You
once-
still don't
but
have a
once you
Uriel?
get-
No, I have it. I'm saying that
Yes.
you can't get. That's the end game is elsewhere.
But the
But I'm saying
end
everyone
game-
has that
The
already.
end game is a couple powerful
I see what you're
weapons
saying.
that you
I
get
see.
from
Yeah.
like legendaries.
There's stuff trapped in there.
and that's about it, right? And so there is some stuff trapped in there. And the last thing I will say before we end the show, trials elimination.
Please.
Just bring it back. Like,
Oh, man.
I love Trials of the Nine. It's fun, but the reality is Trials was, again, we've talked about it, I've said it many times, the glue for keeping Destiny
Yes.
alive for so many years. Please, who
For a
do we
certain
need?
tier
I
of
agree.
players, to be
even
fair.
even
No,
after
bring
3 or
it
4
back.
weeks, I agree. I
Yeah.
feel fatigued
I will-
with every other content except Trials, and I'm
Yes.
beginning to feel fatigued on Trials because of the experience of connecting and disconnecting from the service.
Yeah.
I
So-
agree, but I played
It
it.
has to be fixed.
I mean,
like-
it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear that my reaction to all of this stuff has been very lukewarm. But in this third stream, if they say, "Oh, by the way, Trials of Osiris is back,
Mic
3v3,"
No,
I would be like,
I
would be so happy.
I hear
Exactly.
you guys. Like, I'm with you because I played it every weekend. I'm one of those players, but you can't ignore all the other players that raided.
I
they strike.
would totally
and they chase
ignore
the
them.
things you're talking about. Quest lines like that. I want to have it back, but they have a lot more to fix. So I guess
it back.
we shall see. Let's wrap up the episode. I do want to ask all of you out there. Now is the time to be getting into the comments, telling Bungie how you feel. What did you think of the reveal? What do you want to see? What are the most important things? Try to keep it concise, because if they hop in the comments, they might be reading what you have to say. Additionally, we would love it if you could leave a little thumbs up or thumbs down on this week's episode if you're out there on YouTube, and then likewise maybe a review on the podcast services or whatever. Seriously, we really appreciate all your support. Destin, we miss you, but have fun back in the homeland. He'll be back next week, and we'll get back to it with him. So that's it for this episode. So you guys know what time it is?
I think
Until
so.
next
Tool
time.
time.
Guardians out.
Okay.
Tool
time. Hey, Guardians, if you like the show this week, be sure to drop us a follow, leave the comments on the latest video, and we will see you next week.